Good morning, Read 180 students. Today is Tuesday, April 28th, and we are going to continue the part 3 of the lottery, written by Shirley Jackson. And again, we're going to really be focusing on those literary elements. And today we're really going to focus on the plot. As things continue to transpire with this story, we learn a little bit more about the lottery and how the townspeople are reacting to what's happening in their community. Now, if you look at today's learning target, it is I can analyze how particular sentences, chapters, or scenes affect the story's plot. I can identify important events in text and cite evidence. Now remember, we're going to just really focus on these two pages, pages 144 and 145, so you will need your real book for your lesson today. And we're going to remember, just kind of summarize, remember we left off last week where the people were coming up and drawing their pieces of paper from the box. Mr. Summers would call their name and they would step up, and it was done in alphabetical order. Everybody held on to those papers until everybody has gone through. So today we're going to continue with that. But before we do that, let's look at our academic vocabulary words. You're going to see these when we read today in this selection. Our first word is precisely. And you'll notice, again, you can pause this whenever you need to go ahead and fill in those vocabulary words. And then you'll be completing the example, so applying what you know about the word in the sentence starter that's been given. So the word precisely means, first of all, it's an adverb. So again, we know an adverb describes a verb, so it's describing how something is being done. And the word precisely, the definition is done in an exact way. So my example would be, when something is done precisely, it's done very exactly or by the rules way, okay? You're going to answer this question. What is one thing that you try to do precisely? So go ahead and fill in. One thing I try to do precisely is to what? And I want you to finish that, okay? Our second word is the word chance. And chance is a noun. And you're going to see this in paragraph 47. Chance means the possibility that something will happen. So I think of, like, even though the sun is out, there is a chance that it will rain. So I want you to finish this example on page 144. What is one example of a time you took a chance? So one example of a time I took a chance is when I what? When did you kind of risk something when you're not really sure you're going to get it? What did you do? Okay. All right, so I'm just going to move forward just briefly to look at the key idea. After we get done reading these two pages, I want you to be able to have the information that you can answer this key idea. And that is, what does this section of the story help readers understand about the outcome of the lottery? Like, how is it going to end for these people? So again, after we read this, you're going to take some clues and you're just going to infer, what does this section do it to help you understand what? And again, about the outcome of this lottery. All right, so let's go back to page 144. I will be reading it aloud. I would like you to follow along. Again, as we come to any of these words that are footnotes, we will go ahead and I will explain them if I need to. All right, so again, the top of page 144. Mr. Summers called his own name and then stepped forward precisely, which means exactly or like the rules state, and selected a slip from the box. Then he called Warner. 77th year I been in the lottery, old man Warner said as he went through the crowd. 77th time. Watson. The tall boy came awkwardly through the crowd. Someone said, "Don't be nervous, Jack." And Mr. Summers said, "Take your time, son." Zanini. After that, there was a long pause, a breathless pause, which means kind of like holding their breath, either from suspense or excitement. So there was a breathless pause until Mr. Summers, holding his slip of paper in the air, said, "All right, fellows." For a minute, no one moved, and then all the slips of paper were opened. Now remember, fellows just means kind of the people in the group. Didn't really mean just the guys. It's everybody who was in the group who had that paper. Suddenly, all the women began to speak at once, saying, "Who is it? Who's got it? Is it the Dunbars? Is it the Watsons?" Then the voices began to say, "It's Hutchinson. It's Bill. Bill Hutchinson's got it." "Go tell your father," Mrs. Dunbar said to her older son. People began to look around to see the Hutchinsons. Bill Hutchinson was standing quiet, staring down at the paper in his hand. Suddenly, Tessie Hutchinson shouted to Mr. Summers, "You didn't give him time enough to take any paper he wanted. I saw you. It wasn't fair." "Be a good sport, Tessie," Mrs. Delacroix called, and Mrs. Graves said, "All of us took the same chance." And remember, chance just means the possibility that something can happen. "Shut up, Tessie," Bill Hutchinson said. Okay, page 145. "Well, everyone," Mr. Summers said, "that was done pretty fast, and now we've got to be hurrying a little more to get done in time." He consulted his next list. "Bill," he said, "you draw for the Hutchinson family. You got any other households in the Hutchinsons?" "There's Don and Eva," Mrs. Hutchinson yelled. "Make them take their chance." "Daughters draw with their husbands' families, Tessie," Mr. Summers said gently. "You know that as well as anyone else." "It wasn't fair," Tessie said. "I guess not, Joe," Bill Hutchinson said regretfully. And remember, regretfully means kind of feeling sorry for something. "My daughter draws with her husband's family. That's only fair. And I've got no other family except the kids." Okay, we're going to stop for today. And what we're going to do is now we're going to think about those events. So now remember, they get to the end of the list of names, and as soon as that last person draws, Mr. Summers kind of takes a breath and he stands there for a minute because there's some anticipation, there's some nervousness or kind of suspense going on for what's coming next. Then he makes the announcement, "All right, fellows, open up the papers." And then that's when we find out that Mr. Hutchinson was the person who got the slip for the lottery. He got the, in air quotes, winning ticket or winning paper. So what we're going to do now is we're going to reread, we're going to be analyzing the analyzing plot on page 145. And we're going to kind of find out, why does Tessie Hutchinson say it wasn't fair? Why does she get so excited, or, she starts yelling, she starts shouting things. So we're going to reread page or paragraph 46, and we're going to see if that helps us answer this question. Why does Tessie Hutchinson say it wasn't fair? So let's go back to page 144. Paragraph 46. People began to look around to see the Hutchinsons. Bill Hutchinson was standing quiet, staring down at the paper in his hand. Suddenly, Tessie Hutchinson shouted to Mr. Summers, "You didn't give him time enough to take any paper he wanted. I saw you. It wasn't fair." So taking that information, going back to page 145, I want you to fill in. Tessie says it wasn't fair. Why didn't she think it was fair? So I'm going to let you pause this in order to write your answer. And again, be thorough. Go back and find text evidence. So again, thinking about that winning slip of paper and her reaction. Do we know if this is a good thing or a bad thing? Okay. Why is Tessie so unhappy about Bill pulling that winning slip of paper? What do you think the results of the lottery could mean? So go ahead and answer that question. The last thing we're going to have you do is the react and write, okay? So again, I want you to be prepared to state your opinion about the way the lottery is conducted. And we're going to be thinking, you're going to have an opinion in your mind, but I want you to be using the text evidence that we just read. So does the way the lottery is conducted seem fair? Cite details that support your opinion. So again, if you think it was fair, because on one hand, it kind of seems like it's fair because there's rules that everyone has to follow. But on the other hand, something terrible seems to happen to the winner. Again, the way Tessie reacted, the way her husband just stood quiet, those are some indicators that maybe the lottery isn't fair. I would just like to know what do you think? So again, state your opinion, and then I would like you to go back and find some evidence in one of these or in these 2 pages that would support your opinion. Now that is going to be it for today's lesson. Once you've completed pages 144 and 145, please take a picture of those completed pages and submit it in Google Classroom. Now, I just want to also remind you that new grading is starting this week. Remember, when you are assigned 20 minutes of software, you need to stay on for those 20 minutes. The computer calculates that, and that's what I go by for grading. So on those days, like on Monday, that's all you had to do, there was no other lesson, you needed to spend those 20 minutes on software. Now, some of you are doing above and beyond, some of you are doing 40 minutes, and that's great. I think that's just something that maybe will help you in the long run, keeping up your reading progress that you've made to this point. Also, remember, we have a 2-period class for Read 180. So every day there's that second piece of reading for 15 minutes. I don't care when you do it, if it's during the day, if it's during your normal Read 180 time, if it's at night, but make sure that you fill out your reading log, because that's the accountability piece. I might say, oh, did you read? And you'll say yes, but if I don't see a reading log, I'm not going to grade you on those minutes. So again, remember, this is a 2-period class, so having a 15 to 20 minute lesson and then 15 minutes of reading is not considered too much because of the 2-period block. Now, some of you are doing an awesome job with it. Some of you need to step up, and now that I think that we are in the routine, this is week 5 of distance learning, I'm going to be holding you more accountable. If you don't have it turned in on time, it will be a 0. We just have to keep on track with this. And again, if you're struggling and you're forgetting your passwords or you're struggling with an assignment, you need to reach out to me via email or give me a call. I am working at school every single day, so just keep that in mind, okay? Now, I'll sign off for now so you can get to work. You guys have a great day.